Hello, welcome to Ministry Shift. Welcome back to Ministry Shift. We've been off air over the summer, but we're now back with a vengeance. And we need to be, because Ministry Shift is an opportunity for us to reflect on ministry in all its various forms during this time of pandemic. And I guess some of us thought back in March, well, it'll all be over come October. It isn't. And therefore we are back on air, and we're delighted to be so. We will be thinking a little bit about over the next few weeks and months about the particular shape of the church in this pandemic, not least in the Diocese of Lichfield. And some of you will be aware of the Shaping for Mission process that is just beginning, and there'll be episodes and conversations around that. But for this episode, we thought we would talk about Christmas. Never too early to talk about Christmas. And of course, it is going to be very different this year. So I'd like to introduce to you our Yuletide guests, as it were, for this particular episode. And I'd like to begin with Debbie.
Hi, I'm Debbie Lockrun. I'm the vicar for Rockwoodine Wood and Trench, Oaken Gates, Ketley Bank, Prisley and Sned's Hill in the Deanery of Telford. And I'm also Area Dean for Telford.
And when you think about Christmas, Debbie, how does it feel for you at the moment?
I think Christmas is normally a time of great anticipation, great joy, great celebration, of people coming together and, sharing as family. And I think that that is still there, but I think also now it is tinged with bits of anxiety, bits of frustration, bits of fear, as we think and plan for something that we're not really sure what it will look like still. And our churches can only, well, my churches can only seat up to about 29 people. And we know that the services over Christmas, we normally at least triple our average congregations of 60. We get 180 people, and although we do a booking system at the moment for normal services, it's going to be harder to reach those who come for occasional services over Christmas to let them know about that booking system. So I think that there's a lot of anxiety around that, and lots of change planned as well as we seek to do things differently. Yeah.
Thank you, Debbie. Let me introduce Rich. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you think Christmas is going to shape up.
Hi, I'm Rich Cresswell. I'm the vicar of Shawbury, Stanton and Morton Corbett, 3 rural parishes just northeast of Shrewsbury. Christmas, well, I'm a planner. I like to be organised. I start planning Christmas in June, July. That's my normal thing. That went completely out the window this year for obvious reasons. And so it's been frustrating. It's been difficult. I think what we've found hard is not knowing what the rules are going to be. And I think, now that we've been told these rules are likely to stick around for the next sort of 3 to 6 months in terms of things like no singing and how many people you can have in a building, it's given us a point where we can say, right, we can start making plans now. And so that's where we're at. So it has been frustrating, but now we're starting to feel like we're cracking on and making plans.
Thank you. And my final third guest is Pete.
Hi, I'm Pete Bate. I'm the Director of Communications for the Diocese, which means I've got sort of an overarching role across the diocese, which has over 500 churches in it. So it's a very big and varied place for Christmas to happen. And for me personally, I'm not a member of clergy, so I'm not attached to any particular church in terms of work, but just personally, there's 6 people in our home at the moment because we've got 4 kids. So Christmas is going to be an interesting time in terms of negotiating that and how we see people and whether we can even see people. So that's a slight anxiety, I think. I think there's also that as someone who goes to church at Christmas and loves doing that, just the realisation we're not going to be able to turn up at church on Christmas morning with loads of families and people there. It's not going to happen. So there is also that, just that disappointment, really, I think, around that.
Yeah. So, of course, we're celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ with great joy and gladness, but we acknowledge that we won't be doing that in the ways we've come to love and know, and there is a sorrow about that, and it's just perhaps right to recognize that. But yeah, what are we going to do, and how are we going to do it differently? Pete, if I can stay with you then, we're aware of a change in the national church's kind of campaign for Christmas. For a couple of years we've had Follow the Star, but now we're moving on to Comfort and Joy. Perhaps you can say a little bit about that campaign, why it's come about, and what help it might be to us in parishes and fresh expression schools and chaplaincies around the diocese.
Yeah, I think we might have still been following the star this year if it wasn't for COVID, but there was quite an early discussion back in the summer by the National Church about what theme we should have this year for Christmas, and Comfort and Joy felt like one that fitted, just obviously because of the elements of that comfort at a time when people are feeling maybe displaced or anxious or have faced many losses, just to come alongside people, but also that sense of joy and hope that we have in the Christmas story and in Jesus. So there's a whole range of resources and things that are available for local churches to use, both online stuff and printed materials, songs, different things. There'll be videos for young people as well. There'll also be a big focus again on a church near you and getting people to put their Christmas services, whether they're online or offline, on there. And also, just to plug, there's a webinar for churches to find out more about this on the 4th of November, which we'll put the link in for the Comfort and Joy page, which will have that on there as well.
Thanks, Pete. Tidings of Comfort and Joy. Is that going to work for you, Debbie, in your context? Are those kind of two words going to be helpful for you?
I hope so. I think that it is the national church's responsibility and our responsibility to offer comfort and to point to joy and look to hope, really. I think that for many in our communities, when they first hear those two words, they'll be thinking, really, comfort? It's not that there's not much comfort around at the moment. I can't be with my grandma. I can't have my friends over to stay. I can't do all the things that would normally bring me comfort and joy. And so I think there's a real opportunity there for the church to speak into that and to talk about the incarnation and to talk about the hope that we have, and to bring comfort and joy, to get out there and to do it. So yeah, I hope it will work.
And if I can ask, in a sense, the same question to you, Rich, is Comfort and Joy going to fly in your parishes?
Yeah, I think so. I'm secretly very glad that the Church of England has moved on from Follow the Star. I went big on it 2 years ago, and then last year didn't feel like I could go big on it again. So I'm really glad that we've moved to something else. But I think it's really interesting, that question about there's a difference between how the people who are on the fringes of church or outside the church see it and those who are inside the church. So I think it's a great message for people who we're trying to attract to the message, to the Christian faith, saying that we do bring news of comfort and joy at a time of crisis and discomfort. But for my own congregation, I don't like my congregations getting too comfortable. I want them to be the bringers of the news of comfort and joy. And so actually, I'm going to have to think about how I phrase that within my sermons over the coming, sort of particularly in Advent. How can we be the bringers of that news of comfort and joy?
Yeah, and I am reminded of the scene in the Bayer tapestry, where it shows Prince William prodding his troops to go forward with a spear, and it says, Prince William comforts his troops. That sense of comfort as giving strength so that we can go out and do what needs to be done to be messengers of good tidings of comfort and joy. So it's going to be different, and we're going to have to think differently about how we simply do Christmas. Debbie, what are your thoughts about that? How's it going to work for you in terms of, well, particularly in a situation, for example, where singing is not allowed, and carol services are often so central to the way we do Christmas in our churches? How's it going to work for you?
So yeah, I mean, singing is one of the things that my congregations are really lamenting the loss of at the moment, and the carol service is a really well attended service across the 3 parishes. What we've decided to do this year is take the 9 lessons and carols online, and hopefully reach out to many more people through the ability to do that. Our online views are double what we would normally get as attendance in church. So we're hoping that we'll be able to reach out with the Christmas message to far more people through doing that. But also we're very blessed in our churches that we've got somebody who owns a theatre company, and he is hoping to bring his professional theatre company into the largest of our churches and perform some of the carols, perform some dance for people to come and to see. We can only fit about 34 people into that, so we're hoping to do it across a 5-day period, to enable as many people as possible to come and experience something in the physical that is maybe similar to what they would want to experience at Christmas.
And over a 5-day period, Debbie, I mean, is that a lot of extra work for you and for your folk?
It's a lot of work, but actually I think it's just a change in focus, because we'd put an awful lot of work into the big events and to the hospitality that would surround them. This year, of course, we've not quite worked out how we can do hospitality. At the moment, we can't. We don't have a permanent cafe in any of our buildings, and so we can't do hospitality. So I think it's just a change in effort, a change in focus. So it will be more activities but for fewer people, and less hospitality.
And Pete, are you beginning to get a sense of what's happening nationally in terms of the church's response to needing to do Christmas differently, or are there ways in which that's bubbling up and would become available to people as they start thinking about the December and Christmas?
I think so. I think there's clearly ideas that are bubbling up now, and obviously we've got different situations in different parts of the country as well, so it's hard to have a one-size-fits-all thing. But what we are really keen to do in this diocese is to gather. We're just looking to gather some short 1-minute videos, asking people to make them of what they're doing in their local context, in their local church or school or fresh expression or chaplaincy, and just to share them with us so that we can share them with the rest of the diocese. They're going to be short, comfort and joy 1-minute videos. And Richard's already done one of those, which we'll be sharing soon, which is fantastic. So we'll be looking to gather as many of those as we can over the next few weeks.
Tell us about this fantastic video, Rich.
Yeah, well, I'm here because of this 1-minute video. So we've got 3 churches, as I said. We have very small congregations. Usually at Christmas, that swells. You know, we go from 6 in a congregation to 126. And so we just can't do our Christmas carol services in the way that we'd want to with that hospitality that Debbie mentioned. And so we had some success during lockdown with going online, particularly going on YouTube. That's where my sermons went. And then during when we came back into church, we produced a silent movie, which I know some people have seen from around the diocese, which was a lot of fun and created a really good buzz. And so we thought, well, how can we repeat that? And so this year we're going to do something for Christmas. Rather than our carol services, we're going to do what's got the working title, The Homemade Nativity. I've asked members of my congregation to record themselves either as characters or as narrators, taking on little bits of the Christmas story. And so, but I'm making that difficult. They're going to record themselves, but I'm doing it for myself in rhyme. So I've got to write it. I'm about 3 pages into my script at the moment. So I'll give you a little bit of a taster.
Yeah, please do.
So this is where the Archangel Gabriel appears to Mary. Entering without a knock gave poor young Mary quite a shock. This was the strangest of all meetings, but Gabriel's opening word was greetings. I bring great news. You found God's favour. Through you, he'll give the world a saviour.
What better way to end this episode of Ministry Shift with that? Now, you need to make sure you copyright, patent and publish all that. I'm sure there'll be high demand for it. But thank you for sharing that. And watch out for the video, as indeed you should watch out for future episodes of Ministry Shift. And it appears on Facebook. That's one of the ways places you can find it. And of course, there's opportunity for people to comment please do, especially if you've got ideas that you're happy to share with the rest of us, or you want to comment on anything you've seen on this episode. But until we meet again for our next episode, thank you to Debbie, and for Rich, and to Pete, and to you for watching. Goodbye.